Hi Year 7s, in this video I'm going to talk you through writing your evaluation after a cooking practical. There are two sections to this. The first one is where you reflect and you grade yourself and your partner on different parts of your cooking practical. It's on the first page. Moving down to the second page, this is where you complete more writing and you reflect on the cooking practical and answer the following questions. Let's start with the first section. You're going to assign yourself a grade for each of the following criteria. In order to give yourself an A, you must think that you did an excellent job with no room to improve. To give yourself a B, you think you did a really good job. C means you did okay, but there is still a few things to improve on in that area. D means you really need to work on it, and E means we really struggled with that part of the cooking practical. Safety in the kitchen. This is about safely working in the kitchen, safely collecting and cooking, using any bits of equipment including the oven or the stovetop, any knives, in a safe and correct manner. If you had any safety mishaps, any cuts or burns, make sure you consider that in your grade. Personal hygiene. This is how well you applied your hygiene skills in terms of wearing your apron, having your hair tied back, your hand hygiene, washing your hands, re-washing if you coughed or sneezed or touched any foods that might cause cross-contamination. Collecting your ingredients. It's important to consider whether you collected all the ingredients at the start, if you collected the correct amount, and if you used the right equipment. Did you take the time to think about the right measuring spoons, using a jugs for liquid, using cups and flattening off the top for flours and dry ingredients, etc. Mise en place is about your setup. So remembering that means everything in its place before you start cooking. Did you have out all of your equipment? Did you collect all of your ingredients before you started your food preparation? Was it neat and organized, and were you able to find everything you needed? Following the recipe. Did you have your recipe book, and were you able to read and follow along during the demonstration and also when you were cooking? Or did you have to ask people different questions rather than referring back to your recipe? Presenting your food. How did it turn out in the end? Were you happy with what it looked like? Did it look golden and crispy, if that's what you were hoping for? Was it the right shape and size? If you were plating up your food rather than just taking it home in a container or a bag, did it look nice on the plate? Were you able to present it in a manner that looked professional? Clean up. Along the way, and particularly at the end, was everything neat and clean? Or did you need reminders about the bubbles in your sink, or some crumbs on your bench top, or your cupboards and drawers being neatened, or your store being packed away? Finishing on time. Were you able to complete your practical before the end of the lesson and have your kitchen checked and be walking out the door at lunchtime or whenever the lesson finished? If not, make sure you consider that in your grade. Teamwork. This is everything from communication to dividing up and equally sharing the jobs, right from collecting ingredients to preparing, cooking, clean up, and also offering to do that one extra job that you hopefully have time to do at the end of the lesson. Now, with all of these grades in mind, you then determine what would you give yourself overall for your cooking practical. If you had mostly A's, then you could consider a grade up towards the A level. If you had mostly B's, think about the B, mostly C's. Otherwise, have a look overall and decide what you think is fair based on all of the above. Moving down to section 2. The first 3 questions here are very brief, so just simply writing your name, who your partner or your group members were, and the recipe title that you cooked. The next question here asks you to delve into some more detail. What are 2 of the cooking skills or methods that you used in the recipe? What were they used for? Now, cooking skills or methods can be anything from your knife skills or the way you had to prepare a particular ingredient, It might be the way you cooked your food, whether it was baking in the oven or frying in a fry pan on the stovetop, or perhaps there was something a little more specific like stir frying in the recipe that you made. A great hint here, if you can't think of what cooking skills you used, is to go back to the recipe and have a look through the steps on the method, and it's likely that you will find some things to write about there. The level of detail you're aiming to include is here in the example. In the recipe we used baking. We use baking when we put the muffins, there should be an S there, muffins in the oven to bake for 20 minutes at 160 degrees. So not only does the example tell us that baking was used, but also for what it was used, the muffins, for how long and at what temperature. So there's quite a lot of detail in those sentences. Moving down here, what are 2 things that you and your partner or group did well in the kitchen today? My suggestion is to come up to the top and look at what you gave yourself the highest grade for. Pick out 2 and write about those. Again, you want to make sure that you explain your answer. So if you're saying that you had good time management or you finished on time, that's excellent. Then give me an example of how you were actually able to achieve that. You might say something like, we had great time management and finished our cooking on time today because we divided up the work and we both stayed busy the entire time. And making sure you write about 2. If there's more, then great, you can add more. Next question, what is one thing that you could do better next time in the kitchen? Generally, unless you get an A+, there is something that you could have improved on a little. Again, coming up to the top and choose the criteria that you gave yourself the lowest grade for and write about that one. For example, cleanup is a common area that groups can improve on. If you're to say we could do a better cleanup next time, give a reason why. Say because we forgot to wipe our bubbles and get the crumbs off our bench top. Okay. This is where some descriptive language comes in really handy. You want to talk about the taste and the look of your food. For this, keep in your mind that best case scenario, the person reading, your teacher grading this, gets a really clear picture in their mind of what you made, perhaps even without have seen it. So try and use as many descriptive words as you can. So the look, think about the colour of your food, the shape, the size. Was it in a patty pan? Was it on a plate? Describe exactly what you could see. What did it look like? The taste, commenting on the flavours that were really strong and really obvious, and maybe some flavours that were a little more subtle. If you didn't taste your food for whatever reason, see if you can get the opinion of someone who did taste it, or alternatively comment on what you think it probably would have tasted like as a guess based on the ingredients that you put into the recipe. When would this dish be suitable to eat? So what time of day or what occasion? Let's just say you're writing about your pizza that you've cooked. You'd probably comment that it would be suitable for a dinner, perhaps a lunch, or a special occasion like maybe a birthday, a Saturday night movie night, or a family gathering. Lastly, list 3 ingredients that you could add or swap into the recipe you cooked. So let's use the pizza example again. If the pizza at school had capsicum, onion, and olives, and you think instead it should have mushrooms, pineapple, and chicken, well, those are some things that you could write there. If you really want to extend yourself, give a reason why you would add those in or swap an ingredient for them. I hope this video has helped, and make sure you ask questions if you have any that crop up along the way.